Top 100 Unsolved Mysteries of the Universe. Episode 5. The Cosmological Origin of the Arrow of Time. Start with the most ordinary scenes in the world. A cup falls and becomes a scatter of glass. It never jumps neatly back onto the table. Smoke leaves a fire and spreads through the air. It does not crawl back into the wood. We remember yesterday, not tomorrow. Stars ignite, radiate, age, and die. They do not patiently pull all the light they have emitted back into their cores. The strange part is that many microscopic equations written on the blackboard still look almost legal when you flip the time direction. They resemble a mechanical film that can be played in reverse without instantly exposing the trick. That is where the real problem begins, if the underlying rules are often close to reversible. Why does the actual universe keep leaving a history that unfolds only one way? The mainstream answer usually hangs the arrow of time on a low-entropy early universe. It says the beginning was special, and that special beginning is why entropy keeps increasing and irreversibility keeps showing up later. But that answer leaves two holes wide open. First, why was that beginning so special in the first place? Second, how do microscopic details that can be time-reversed on paper gradually become a macroscopic history that cannot be walked back in reality? It is like explaining why a whole city is full of one-way streets by saying, because the planners designed it that way on opening day, while never showing how each intersection was physically locked, sign by sign, gate by gate. Why does broken glass not reassemble itself? Not because the universe issued a decree against repair, but because the sound of the impact has already been written into the air, the heat into the tabletop, the tiny scratches into the floor, and even the swirls in the surrounding air have copied part of the event. Once the bookkeeping has spread through the room, collecting every line item becomes fantastically hard. That is why saying only entropy increases is not enough. Entropy increase describes the result: the bill gets more spread out. But it does not yet show who copies the record, how the details diffuse, and where the road back is actually sealed. EFT wants that construction chain drawn explicitly. Its rewrite is blunt. Time is not first a separate river flowing behind the world. Time is first a readable beat inside a system. And the arrow of time is not an extra cosmic commandment. It is the irreversible settlement that appears once information has been written. Picture the world as a vast sea that is steadily relaxing. An event is like pressing a seal into the surface. A local structure responds first. Then the trace is amplified, handed to the surrounding environment, and copied into more and more degrees of freedom. When a cup shatters, the collision writes sound into the air, heat into the table and floor, and cracks into the glass. When a supernova explodes, it writes elements into dust, shock waves into interstellar gas, and light into ever larger regions of space. When life forms a memory, molecular states are successively fixed into neural networks, metabolic chains, and thermal noise. The total bookkeeping still exists. And EFT is not claiming that microscopic law suddenly fails. It is not saying consciousness magically pushes the future away either. What changes is the cost of reversal. To make everything run backward exactly, you would have to recover every detail that has leaked into countless corners, realign noise that has already spread, and reopen channels that have already closed. In a real universe, that is overwhelmingly impractical. This is why the arrow is not an abstract gift pinned onto physics from outside. It is the accumulated consequence of writing, amplifying, diffusing, and losing fine-grained recoverability. Once you reconnect that mechanism to cosmology, the picture becomes much clearer. The universe is not a static geometric backdrop turning pages. It is an energy sea whose baseline tension keeps relaxing while structures are built and information is continuously recorded. The early universe looks less like a finished equilibrium box and more like a gigantic construction site just beginning operation. Stars, galaxies, planets, oceans, life, memory, and civilization are all later stages of that same worksite, turning local events into durable traces. In EFT, the thermal arrow, the radiation arrow, the memory arrow, and the arrow of cosmic evolution are not four unrelated arrows. They are four appearances of the same universal bookkeeping process seen at different scales. That is why so many visible phenomena line up in the same direction at once. Heat spreads from hot to cold. Radiation moves outward from sources. Memory accumulates from past records, and history grows by stacking traces. They look like separate chapters, but underneath they share one mechanism. The past can be defined not because the universe stores yesterday in a special drawer, but because yesterday has already embedded its marks in today's material world. The future cannot be remembered not because it is mystical, but because the writing has not yet happened. That is F's central rewrite of the cosmological origin of the arrow of time. The arrow is not a prior gift handed to the universe at the beginning. It is the consequence of continuous cosmic bookkeeping. It is not an extra arrow attached to equations from the outside, but the construction trace left by an energy sea whose real history becomes harder and harder to reverse as it goes on. Tap the playlist for more. Next episode, The Horizon Problem. Follow and share our new Physics Explainer series will help you see the whole universe more clearly.